Welcome to Self-Publishing with ALLi from the Alliance of Independent Authors. This week we focus on branding, marketing, and promotion. Join Orna Ross as she interviews the brightest minds, experts, and insiders in the writing and publishing business. Get actionable insights to help you level up your author brand and reach more readers. This podcast is proudly sponsored by BookFunnel. Do you have reader magnets, ARCs, and direct digital sales? Want to join multi-author promotions? Thousands of authors trust BookFunnel for seamless delivery and real human support. Visit bookfunnel.com. And here's your host for Self-Publishing with ALLi, Orna Ross.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm looking forward to talking to you about book marketing. And what we'll be looking at particularly is the combination of how AI can assist and how to be more human. And if you want to lean fully into the human side and not to the AI side, that's absolutely fine. Not so fine to do it the other way around, though. We are going to be taking a dip into, if you like, this book, our most recent guide. It's the definitive guide to book marketing. So when we talk about our definitive guides, they are our large, comprehensive guides. And we also do short guides, as you probably know, member handbooks and so on. But we redid completely our marketing book, which is this, Reach More Readers. And we are currently redoing our promotions book, which is Summer Books. The reason we did that was because of all the changes that have happened. It's not that long since we did the last update on this book, but so much has been happening in this sphere, particularly because of AI. And if you're not an AI fan, please don't hate me, because I am going to be talking about using AI assistance in book marketing during this presentation. So if that offends you or upsets you, I understand, and that's absolutely fine. But our members use AI in their publishing. And so as an association, a writers association, we have a responsibility to keep up with what's going on and to do our best to enable and empower and help our members to understand. So the mix of this webinar, however, is very much about not just using AI assistance, but how you can also be more human in your use of AI and in your use of everything as you go about your book marketing. And that is a term that's kind of being bandied around a lot at the moment. But what does it mean to be more human? We'll be looking quite closely at that, and I'm giving examples. And so, let's just take a look at some of the basics first so that we make sure we're talking about the same things. And so book marketing can mean very many different things to different people. So I want to talk also about why book marketing is hard. And I think that's the basic that we need to start with. This is not an easy task. Writing a book is not an easy task. Producing a book is relatively easy, not the first time out when you're learning about all the platforms and stuff. Once you learn how to do it, it can kind of go along at a nice clip. You get your way, you know what platforms you're using, what tools you're using. And book number 3 is much easier than book number 1. The writing is not like that. Writing a book, each book is a challenge, and each book sets its own challenges for you as a writer. Well, it's very similar with marketing. Each book is a challenge. And at the beginning, particularly when you're setting up your marketing and positioning yourself in the marketplace, that's a really challenging place to be. So the first thing I want to say is, if you are finding book marketing hard, that's because it is hard. And why? Well, it's a very unpredictable thing. Even the biggest publishers who've been in this business forever, put a bet on sure things that don't work out and find that books that they didn't expect to succeed will. You're in unfamiliar territory if it's your first time seriously trying to market. And then you have that whole thing of the contrasting intent. As a writer, you kind of see yourself as being in service, entertaining or educating, inspiring your readers. Whereas in marketing, it's much more about visibility and targeting at persuasion. So those two things, they're not mutually exclusive, not at all, as we shall see, but they can feel that way. Particularly at the beginning, it can feel like they're kind of fighting against each other and they're opposite things. And another reason I think for author publishers in particular, and why it's hard is because, and again, first time especially, you're turning to these things often after you have just finished writing a book and putting it together, producing it, formatting it. And so and you're tired, you're creatively tired. And then this job comes in and very often we skimp the job, as we shall see. So at the moment, then the outer challenges, if you like, they were some of the inner challenges. The outer challenges are that there is a content glut in our sector and it's not getting any smaller. This is a complete tsunami of content. Now, that isn't actually all that relevant to you, but it can feel very intimidating. And we are operating in social media territory where there's shrinking organic reach. It's almost impossible now to reach people without investing in advertising. There's algorithm volatility at the moment as all the platforms introduce AI systems and refine AI systems. Things can feel like they're a little bit all over the place. We're drowning in email spam, as many of you are probably already aware, with people writing to you and telling you how amazing your book is and please click here and pay them some money. And the costs, so speaking of money, costs of advertising and costs of everything are going up at the moment. And there is this whole challenge of reader attention and trust. Who do they trust? How can you get them to pay some attention? So there are I'm going to read out now 7 different kinds of places that you can find yourself in with regard to your book marketing. And I'm just going to define them and I want you to note down which of these you fall into. So the first one is you actually don't know how to do it. You've a very hazy idea or no idea at all. So you don't know how to market well. The second one is you do have a good idea of what you'd like to do, but you just, for some reason, have a mental block. You can't get going. Number 3 is you fizzled out. You did it for one book, you did it a while ago, it went well for you, or it didn't, but for one reason or another, it's all kind of fizzled out for you. So if you're in one of these 3 categories, you've basically got pretty much no marketing at all going on. And then there are those who have some marketing going on, but maybe you're stop-start. Sometimes you do it for a while and then you don't do anything again for ages. Another thing that can happen is that you have tactics that you picked up from somewhere, something you've learned, something that sounded good to you, something somebody else in your niche is doing, something that a friend recommended. Actually, it's the wrong targets and the wrong tactics, and you kind of know that, but you're just keep on doing it because that's what you do, even though it's not having any success for you. Another one is the wrong target. So what you're doing is right and pretty well laid out, but you're actually addressed to the wrong people. Maybe you haven't segmented enough or it isn't niche enough. Another thing is that you're doing a bit, you're chugging along, but it's very underdeveloped, your marketing. It's not all that clear to readers when they arrive on your website, for example, what they need to do next. It's there, but it's underdeveloped. You haven't gone in there with gusto and confidence. And the final one, maybe you're doing too much. You're trying to be everywhere. And instead of being somewhere, and doing it well, you're trying to do everything and you're kind of scattered all over the place and you're not really making an impact anywhere. So as I said, just take a note there. Just take a moment to make a small note as to which one of these you are finding yourself, which category you're finding yourself in. What I want to say to you is all of the things that I just kind of laid out there can make you feel, nobody can do this. This is too hard. It's horrible. And I don't want to be involved. I just want to write is something that we hear a lot. And I just want to say to you that despite the content glut and despite all the things that I said that are happening in the outer world, and despite the fact that you may not have got to where you want to go. And I assume by virtue of the fact that you're in this webinar, that is where you find yourself. And despite this, I want to say to you today that it is very possible to sell more books, to improve your marketing from where you find yourself. And despite all the things that are going on there, indie author sales are growing, and they're growing really significantly. And you have fellow ALLi members who are doing well, and getting sales is not impossible. You will hear authors saying getting sales is impossible now. It can't be done. That is not true. Readers are buying books all the time. It's a matter of cracking the code, what is right for you. And I hope this webinar is going to help you to do that. But I do want to emphasize this. It is possible. Our latest income survey, it just completed 2025, shows that the majority, authors across the board, indie authors, I should say, are earning an average of almost 50K across the board. Now, obviously, we've got outliers at the top end who are doing millions, and at the lower end who are not doing anything at all. But we surveyed those who are putting 50% of their time, or who earn 50% of their income from books. And we saw a significant climb since our last survey in 2023. So I'm telling you that just to say it can be done. And, tonight you're taking a step towards that. So quick dash through the evergreen principles that always apply. Number one is that the book is the most important thing. You will hear people say the book is all the marketing you need, or your writing is your marketing. These are truisms. They're not fully true, and they are partly true, though. It is really important that you write the very best that you can, and that you go through a professional publishing experience, high production values, high delivery values, getting the book to the reader, making it easy for them. And remembering that a good book is very genre dependent. What is a good romance novel, for example, is not the same sorts of signifiers of excellence that apply there are not going to apply to a military history book. And so understanding your genre is absolutely key to marketing well. And often, for new writers, we don't think about genre really. We write the books that we're driven to write, or that we choose to write. It's only later we begin to think about genre and niche and all of these things that I'm going to be talking about today. And that's absolutely fine. The other core evergreen principle, and I'm death on this, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about it before, but that is that the values that are embedded in your book need to be transferred into your marketing, and that they are what your reader values in the book. They are the point of connection. The two of you connect around values. The value that you offer them is, they buy your book. That's how they signify the value that it has. So understanding your values as a writer and as a publisher is very important when it comes to your marketing. And we'll be talking a little bit about that today. The other evergreen thing is understanding the reader journey. And that's partly about how you're delivering your books, how you're distributing them, how you're getting them to the reader, but it's also very much a marketing question. How does the reader find you? How do they then go further and get closer so that they buy your books, sign up to your mailing list, become a fan, spread the word? That's sort of the reader journey you want them to have. Not all readers are going to go all the way to fandom. It's a matter of concentric circles that get smaller and smaller. The more that, the more they love your books, the smaller the group that's going to be. And that's the same for everybody. But what is their journey to you and to your book? And the connector of everything that you will do at a marketing level is your own author story. And by that, I mean the story that makes you write these books, particular book or books that you are writing at the moment. And I'll be talking about the three kinds of publishers that I mentioned earlier in a moment. And that is craft publishers who are all about the production values and the marketing values and how they are translated. And the engagement publisher who's much more social, much more about the actual direct connection with the reader. And then volume publisher, who is productivity is their highest value. They're just very much focused on getting the next book out and the next book and writing faster and so on. We've had a lot in the indie author community in the past, a lot of volume publisher noise, I would say. That was the most influential sort of model. But now that we have AI, and that model is less attractive and less powerful, I think, than it was before. And I definitely see across the community that authors are thinking about other aspects of marketing. And the final sort of thing to say under the evergreen marketing principles is that marketing is not promotion. Marketing is about setting up your book, setting up the reader promise. Promotion is about selling more books. Promotion is time-based. It has a beginning and an end. Marketing is ongoing, always. You're always marketing your books. You're always positioning yourself as an author. So just going a little bit more deeply into that, because it's a really important point to understand, and a lot of authors confuse these two. So marketing is the infrastructure that you're building. It's your website. It's the fact that you have a transactional website. It's how the reader buys the books and messages that you're going to send them in that process. Or it's your funnels for your signups, how you segment them. It's the infrastructure. It's often referred to as the author platform. It is your overall presence and positioning and promise. That's what you're setting up when you're working on your marketing. Promotion is a burst of attention for a particular book, and it's got a defined, as I said, beginning and ending. Marketing is about how you show up, how you guide readers towards your books, whereas promotion centers on activities that will sell a specific title at a specific time, or a specific series. It might be launch time, but it might be, you might just decide, okay, I'm going to do a promo on this particular book. Marketing's a long game. It deepens over time. Actually, it never ends, and it's very hard to measure your marketing. It needs to be done. It's really important. It does sell books a bit, but it's mostly about setting you up so you can promote your books. Promotion is a short-term game. It's got a clear goal and clearly measurable outcome. When you do a promotion, you know, did it work or did it not? It's much easier to see and measure. So marketing's ongoing and every day, pretty much every day, whereas promotion has a start date and an end date. And I have heard it summed up as marketing is passive selling and promotion is active selling. So looking then again quickly at those three types of publisher and thinking about this now and seeing if you can order these in 1, 2, and 3, because we're all a bit of all of them. So engagement publisher, as I said, you're all about community. You might personalize your books for your readers, and you're likely to be on social media or else doing a very active events program. Craft publishers, it's all about the craft for you, and the craft includes both the writing and the publishing craft. And you are best approaching your marketing through literary influencers like librarians, maybe booksellers, events, literary festivals, all of that kind of thing. And you're looking for prestige reviews and awards. And that's the craft publishers' marketing method. And volume publishers, you're about ads, automation, and algorithms. So, like I said, just take a moment and order these for yourself, 1, 2, and 3. We all need to do some engagement with our readers, obviously. We all care about our craft. We all want to write better. We all want to publish better. And that's completely part of what we do and what we want as indie authors. And we all want to write as many books as possible and to get them seen by as many readers as possible. So it's not that you pick one of these and they're mutually exclusive, but it is that you choose which is your number one. Because depending on that number one, you're going to approach things very differently. Okay, so you've got your 1, 2, 3. Even if you're not 100% sure, please just order them 1, 2, and 3 for you. And through the rest of the exercise this evening, as I go through the various examples and things that I'm going to be looking at now in a few moments, bring your number one with you. Think about, I'm an engagement publisher and therefore I will be doing such and such, rather than something else. So you will see what I mean as we go through the examples. Depending on which of these you prioritize, you're going to handle things very differently. So these are the must-dos for every book marketer, and these are the things that are important. So what I'm going to do is just kind of list these so that we understand what we're talking about. And then I'm going to go through each of them with some examples of how you might use AI to assist you in these, and how you might use, and how then you double down on being more human with relation to each of these categories. And so, as I said, depending on which type of publisher you are, you're going to approach each of these 8 must-dos in different sorts of ways. So hold that top priority in your mind. Creativity in marketing, in book marketing, means that you understand that marketing is writing. It is another way for you to express yourself. It's another way for you to embed the ideas, the principles, the concepts, the themes, the emotions, whatever it is you are trying to bring to the reader, you bring that into your marketing as well. And the marketing can be text, it can be images, it can be audio, it can be video. Ideally, it's a mix of those. Just text on its own is not, it's very challenging to market just using text, but it can be done. Even that can be done. So that's the most important thing I want to say to you, is that anything you want to do, there's probably a way to do it. And the more wacky and crazy and way out that it sounds, probably the better in this day and age, because just from that point of view of getting reader attention, everybody's doing all the same things. So if you can stand out in some way, the best way to do that, in terms of, this is our being more human part, being more you, doing the things that you want to do, even though other people think they're wrong, in inverted commas, or crazy, or too far out. So allow yourself to have any ideas as we're talking, and write them down and mull over the coming days as to how you make these things more you. The second must do is connection. You must connect with your readers. And as I said already, your values, your story, and of course your books are the bridge to the readers. And in order to set up that bridge, it's number 3, positioning. Where are you in the marketplace? There's the reader wanting to buy books. How do you get to the particular readers who want to buy your particular books? It's all about genre clarity, niche clarity. So you'll have a genre, you'll probably have a subgenre, and you have within that a niche. So, for me, historical fiction is one of the genres I write in. Irish historical fiction, it would be my sub-niche. And then multi-generational would be where I get really niched. And people who buy my books, like big books that go across time frames and have multiple layers of characters. So that's my particular genre niche and sub-niche, genre, subgenre and niche. And knowing that allows me to know the language that I use, the buzzwords that make my particular readers come to read my particular kind of books. And it is the same for you, and it's the same for every book. When it comes to obviously selling an ALLi book, reach more readers, the language is different and the approach is different. I know that for some of you, I'm stating the absolute obvious, and yet this is something that's really challenging to get your mind around and can always be improved. No matter how long you've been doing this, no matter how well you're doing this, refreshing, optimizing is around your genre and what's going on in your genre, because you change, your books change, and it changes as well. So you need to be in touch and understand and know who's doing well in your genre and why. So if you don't already know that, that is your very first task. You need to go and find what's called your comparable authors, people who write books like yours, and you need to evaluate what it is about them that makes them sell well, and then what it is about you that's different. So you want to be the same, but different in a way that makes you stand out. The fourth thing every single book marketer must tackle is book metadata. And you will have to obviously, insert your metadata in whatever platform you're using. And keyword optimization has become easier and easier. And that's one of the ways actually that AI is quite helpful. The fifth thing is your author platform, building your presence. So once you have established how you are reaching your readers and what your infrastructure looks like, then it's strengthening that by going out there and bringing your readers to you in the way that you have chosen. So your author platform is constantly being strengthened. I hear a lot of authors think that author platform means social media. It doesn't. It means whatever means you are using to position your books in the marketplace and make yourself discoverable. And that's the next thing. Discoverability is something you need to understand if you are to be a good marketer. How do readers discover your books? And then how do they journey to you once they have discovered them? And finally, partnership. It is more and more and more as the bots do their thing. The human advantage is other people, comparable authors, influencers who can take your books to readers that you're not directly in contact with, and collaborators, which can be other authors, but can be lots of other people too. So, as I said, these are just examples that I'm going to give you as I go through these 8 dimensions or aspects of book marketing, things that you could do. And I want you to disregard if I'm giving an example that doesn't suit you, doesn't really suit your books, but I'm hoping that as I give some ideas and some examples here, it will spark ideas and examples for you that suit your marketing. So remembering that marketing is writing and that you are replicating, reinforcing the values and the ideas and the themes and so on in your work through your imagery, through your audio, through your video, through the words that you use as you go about your business on the internet. AI can help by it's the easiest thing in the world to say, get variants on your titles, your subtitles, your hooks, whether that be for your book itself or for blog posts or social media posts or pitches to influencers or whatever it might be. So you just say, give me 10 alternative titles like 5 words, subtitles a bit longer, and hooks a bit longer again for whatever your genre is. I've just said here, a gothic historical with a doomed love thread. So the point being here, the more specific you can be, the better answer you get. And then in relation to being more human, you take the ideas you're given and then you mine your own experience. You bring your emotion, you bring your lived life, you bring, your hopes and dreams for your books, and you look at the titles and you look at some other authors and what they are doing, and then you return again to yourself. So being more human is always about drilling more deeply into where you actually are yourself and having the confidence to bring that up to the top, to bring it out there. It's always challenging. And, even if you think you're doing that, there's always, again, another layer of skin that we can strip off and come out more, telling more of our truth and adding always the tone and the texture of the book and also of in everything that surrounds the book, we should get a sense of what the book is about. And that's done through tone and texture. So connection, just a reminder, that means your values, which gives you your author story. So they're embedded in there. If you don't know your author values, That again is a job you need to do as a book marketer, first of all, before you do other things. Embedded in both your author story and in your books are your values, and that's your value to the readers and bringing that up. So how can we use AI to help us to do that? If you feed your website pages or some book pages into your AI and ask them to draft a brand story for you or an author bio for you in that voice. And then being more human, run a values check. Your own values, author values, as I said, if you haven't got that in place already, off you go and begin that whole process. If you already do have some sense of that, building on it and taking it one step further and understanding the connection between the values and the value to the reader. So in this exercise, you're not looking to hype your books. You're looking for the heart in the books and in your author story. And then you edit it into your own voice. So obviously rewriting from your own why. You get some ideas from the AI, but you tell the truth of something that happened to you, something that changed you as a person, as a writer, some point of connection between you and your readers. Number 3, positioning. And as I said, this is all about the reader promise and the genre clarity. So once you've discovered your comparable authors, if you feed in their title descriptions and reviews and ask the AI to analyze the reader expectations of what is being met there, in terms of being more human, then listening deeply for tone and feeling in your comp author's work, comparing it to your own values, comparing it to how you write and how you've gone about things, understanding what your USP is, a big marketing word, your unique selling proposition is what marketers call it. But really, it's your unique take on the familiar genre and tropes that we've all become accustomed to by being surrounded by story. What's your promise? And write it down. And once you understand that promise, just deliver it everywhere you can. Number 4 is the metadata keyword optimization. This is where AI is really helpful, and a lot of the optimization tools that were there before are out of date now, and they once were quite useful, but actually AI is doing an excellent job here, and particularly when you engage with the process. So feeding in your book description, just asking for high-performing keywords, then in taking the human angle on it, imagine your reader's mood or their need or their dream or whatever as they were keying in some of these words into that search box. Bringing as a human qualities of empathy and curiosity, you evaluate the suggestions and you can come up with some really keywords. And yeah, it can be also a really enjoyable exercise and a way of understanding your values and the deeper aspects of your book that you may have missed while you were writing it. Author platform, building your presence. Excuse me. Social media is the obvious one, and it's the one that people relied on a lot in the previous decade. I don't think it's going to be, I think it's already falling apart. I don't think it's going to be so influential going forward unless you've got a big budget to play with. So if you're not going to do social media, what are you going to do? And then for those of you, if you are going to do social media, how are you going to make it as effective as possible? For those of you who don't like social media at all, I would say don't bother going there, find another way. So what other way? Ask the AI for ideas. Again, feeding in your website details, your blog, your marketing mission, your book, if you're comfortable with that. Ask for media, promotion and marketing ideas for somebody who doesn't want to do social media. And then return to that whole idea of true connection. Who are your people? And what's a good way to meet them? What's a good way to find them where they are? What do you want from them? Understanding that clearly, what you want them to do next, and what you want to give up beyond buy your book. But what else? What else is going on in the transaction between you? What do you want to give them? What is your service as an author, as a publisher? What is it that you want to do? They say there are three kind of categories: information, inspiration, or entertainment. Again, you can prioritize those 1, 2, 3. As an author, which are you? Do you most want to inspire people? And do you most want to entertain people? Or do you most want to teach, inform people? And understanding that about yourself helps you here when it comes to building your author platform. Discoverability, that reader journey. So we all have heard about funnels, autoresponders, segmentation, leading your reader towards your books, particularly if you have different genre, the need to have different journeys. But always a reader journey, it starts with awareness. First, they don't know you, never heard of you. Then, for some reason, they become aware of you. How? How is that happening? Where is that first point of contact going to come? Next, they get interested. And that's very much to do with what we've been talking about already, pressing the value buttons. Then they buy a book, and then their loyalty becomes something more than that. Maybe they buy your reader membership, or maybe they join your ARC team and start to tell other people about your books and why they're so great and why they should read them. And the human bit of this, I think, and there can be a lot of work in setting up those funnels. And if your funnels are broken, and loads of our funnels are broken, it's the common thing for in the author world, possibly in every world. If your funnels are broken, or if they're not optimized, if they're not as good as they can be, AI can really assist you with that. That is another thing that it finds very easy to do. But when you get that assistance and you get the suggestions, it's really important that you walk the path yourself. And this is where being more human comes into reader journey, empathizing with the reader, going through, putting all your things in incognito and approaching them as somebody who isn't familiar with them. Walk the path. Where would you lose interest as a reader? Where does the system break down? What are you not telling them that, helps them to take the next step from awareness to interest, from interest to purchase, and so on? Fixing those friction points, and not just looking at the data, but always looking, having one eye to delighting the reader, not just, what's the data telling me? And finally, partnership. Your comparable authors, the influencers who can bring your books to people, and the collaborators, the same thing. If you ask AI to find cross-promotional opportunities with comparable authors, for example, that will be one thing that's very doable. And then when it would come to be more human, it will be about personal reach out. You liking what somebody is doing, coming up with a good idea that would actually work for both of you. Obviously, there are formal platforms like BookFunnel and Story Origin and so on who actually help you to swap newsletters, for example, or to share in a launch with some other writers. Essentially thinking about building an author community that can help you to reach more readers. So it isn't about authors for, in other genres, though that has its value too. Just, sharing the load and sharing our problems and our issues and our joys and our successes with other authors who understand what we do and understand what it's like to be an indie author. That's fantastic and that has value. But here, what I'm particularly talking about is partnership with authors in your genre, with influencers in your genre. In other words, partnering with people who can help you to reach your kinds of readers. So you're building up a community of writers who have a community of readers, and you're all stronger together than you would be on your own. So I think the most important thing that I've kind of been saying is that making your marketing creative, and creativity, that, there's a recognized creative process that absolutely everything goes through if you are making anything from breakfast to, a book. And we recognize these 7 stages when we're writing. because we're very familiar with them there, but we're not so familiar with them when it comes to marketing. And those 7 processes, 7 stages, if you like, of the creative process. And it doesn't happen in a linear way like this, but it can be helpful to isolate it when you're trying to do a challenging creative project, which I would consider book marketing to be. So first of all, there's your intention, then you incubate the ideas, then you investigate them, that's research. Then you do a blueprint. In writing, it's your first draft, but with marketing, it might be testing out a particular funnel or trying an ad campaign. And then you deepen it from what you learn by putting it out there, and then you clarify it, you get really clear. So the deepening phase is where you kind of elaborate it and improve it. And then the clarification phase is where you kind of cut away everything else. So it'd be the equivalent of your edit in writing. And then finally, you complete it and you let it run its course. And from what you've learned, you start a new idea. The whole point is that whether it's making money or meaning, passion and pleasure are at the heart of your publishing as well as of your writing. Thanks so much for being here. And thank you so much for writing books. Happy writing and publishing. See you again soon. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Self-Publishing with ALLi featuring Orna Ross. This podcast is proudly sponsored by BookFunnel. Do you have reader magnets, ARCs, and direct digital sales? Want to join multi-author promotions? Thousands of authors trust BookFunnel for seamless delivery and real human support. Visit bookfunnel.com. This program is produced by the Alliance of Independent Authors. Find author advice, tips, and tools at our Self-Publishing Advice Center, selfpublishingadvice.org. And if you haven't already, we invite you to join our organization and become a self-publishing ally. You can do that at allianceindependentauthors.org.